want to hear about, riding that great candle up, as the cliche goes, from the pilot seat viewpoint, And I mean, our listeners have never done this. So is it loud? A lot of G, vibration? Well, what's the whole thing feel like as you're going up in the shuttle?
Yeah, I think yes to all those, Sandy. I mean, it really, to set the table a little bit, we had scrubbed 5 times on STS 127 over the course of about a month and a half, 2 trips to Kennedy. That we had a hydrogen leak a couple times. And then, of course, we were then launching in July in Florida in the late afternoon. And of course, thunderstorms. So, and, it's always like this. The day we walked out that we actually flew, it was raining. And so
here we go again.
Yeah. You're thinking, it literally Groundhog Day. Yeah. You're just like, oh, here we go. And, you lay on your back for 3+ hours and then you come out of the 9-minute hold and it's like, holy cow, we're going this time. And all that stuff, the vibrations of the, after the APUs have started with the engines doing their gimbal checks. And then certainly you feel the engines start, and then as soon as the boosters light, then it's, and I've told people this before, there were 2 times in my life in a flying vehicle where I felt like I didn't have total control over the machine. And it was the 2 ascents on the solid rocket boosters for shuttle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you are along for the ride, because as a pilot, you pride yourself in knowing the vehicle, knowing the system, and knowing you can handle anything, but you're just, the physics of the ascent were just incredible for those first 2 minutes and 8 seconds.
So it's not like the acceleration of a catapult shot off an aircraft carrier, but it's much more extended acceleration, getting you up to how many Gs sustained as you're going up, as the vehicle's accelerating.
Yeah, with shuttle, it was and you think of it this way, it's just this constant increasing acceleration. And it was a pretty good jolt off the pad when the boosters lit. Maybe not quite, certainly not one of like a higher weight catapult shot would have been, but it was pretty significant, noticeable. But you're burning that liquid hydrogen and oxygen. I mean, you're Olympic swimming pool every second kind of thing. So you're getting that much lighter as you're ascending. And then of course the solid rockets burn really rough. So it's just like, teeth chattering almost. And I mean, if you watch the crew cabin video, and we had some, you can just see everybody's heads just kind of bouncing around. And I remember at 135, we had it flash to the, on our video, flash to the crew. And all you can see is Rex's
grin,
giant smile. But you're kind of doing this and then, accelerating. And then of course, then the boosters get you through that first thickest part of the atmosphere, and then their work is done and they come off. There's a big flash. Even in the daytime, there's a big flash in the windows where the booster separation motors fire. And then it's just smooth as glass. And then you work your way up towards the last, it's about 2 minutes. The engines begin to start throttling as you reach 3 Gs. And that was a design profile for the shuttle because it's a 250,000 pound vehicle and you're not going to pull 6 Gs with a vehicle that big. So the engines would throttle as you were getting closer to main engine cutoff and you'd peak it right at 3 Gs, but you sustained it for a couple minutes at the end of the profile.
Doug, I had a completely different experiences every time I launched, the 3 times, but I was sitting in different seats each time. And you were, of course, in the pilot seat twice. So how did the 2 launches compare from that viewpoint?
I think the difference was both for ascent and entry. I just felt like I was a little farther ahead on STS 135 than 127. I mean, your first flight, it's just the sensations and the actual moments as you're ascending, especially after scrubbing 5 times, you're just like, what in the heck is going on? And you're just, you've done these simulators so many times and you're focused so much as a pilot, you're focused primarily on the motors, on the engines, among other things, but you're going through that cadence as you're going up and focusing on your job, but it's just the sensations. And I remember Mark as we roll, because we roll,
On your back.
you know, you do your roll program on your back. And so the pilot's window is looking towards the East Coast. And I remember Mark going, look out the window, look out the window. And I'm like, why is he telling me that? You know, but I thought I was supposed to look at the motors, you know, and, but I think he wanted me to just have that experience because it's so unique.
Yeah, but we had a little bit of excitement on 135, so it wasn't like we had everything under control right away. We had malfunction just before we launched, and then we had the cabin pressure thing, so that was a little bit sporty too.
Yeah, that was almost had to do an RTLS on the last flight of the shuttle program.
I was sitting in my seat going, "We're not doing an RTLS. We are not doing
no
it."
We're doing that.
That's return to landing
Return
site,
to
I
launch.
assume?
Return to launch.
Launch
Yeah.
site.
We had
So-
we had a cabin leak, you know,
sensor
indication, and it was a sensor. And the phenomenon is what's known as cabin stretch, which Atlantis was somewhat well known for. Because Rex is kind of looking at the number going, well, this is kind of an RTLS rate. And then I think, but wasn't it Butch Wilmore was our captain?
Yeah, he was.
And Butch comes back and goes, okay, it's just cabin stretch, you know.
And you're sitting there going, well, my ears aren't popping, so we must still have
Yeah, exactly. It didn't feel any different. I mean, although we're in our suits. So.
It was a moment.